Hey, this is Debbie with Cultural Alignment Solutions, and I am so happy to be back here for this week's The Expansion Factor podcast. I am beyond thrilled to introduce to you our guest today. I must say, the first time I met her, she instantly intrigued me, but she also intimidated me all in the same sentence. We're going to get to speak to Reverend Bobbi Becker today. And I am telling you, it's that Reverend piece that highly intimidated me, Bobbi, when I met you. And we're going to I call it our PTSD, that religious PTSD stuff. So we'll totally get into that because as different as you and I are, is as parallel as we are. So I love that
Yeah.
part of our story. Yeah, we're going to get into that. And I just am, first and foremost, just want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. I want to talk about expansion, where you're at in your life now, and all of that kind of fun stuff. Bobbi, Reverend Bobbi, thank you.
Let's go with Bobbi today.
Yay!
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
Where am I at today?
yeah, where are you at today?
Well, I'm in Olympia today.
Okay.
And I've been, for the past 6 months, transitioning. I'm moving out of senior ministry at a spiritual community down in Southern California. And I'm moving away from that very intentionally and consciously, um, and lovingly, with the community. Um, and so I'm moving into a period I would call a liminal space, is kind of where I'm at. Moving into, I would say, even more sort of what is this as I move out of ministry into, what's mine next. And so I'm looking forward to about 6 months of exhale.
Yes.
And I think the thing about what I'm doing too is inspired by some other ministers that I've read. Barbara Brown Taylor, who was a minister who left after 25 years. Um, I can't think of this other name. He wrote Emerging Ministry, and those folks, some of these ministers that have left. I guess what I'm exploring now is how to leave.
Mm, mm,
What's a great way to leave something? I have two things that I live by. One is do no harm.
yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm responsible for your own sort of feelings about what I'm doing. My other really sort of I've lived with this phrase for the past 20 years when I found it. And it was Ralph Waldo Emerson in his self-reliance essay, Imitation is Suicide. And living with how can I continue to grow into being more of who I really am and sort of releasing those things like old religion, um, cultish language that often gets, I think, adopted even in my movement. In the New Thought movement, and just exploring how to that freedom. So when I think of expansion, it's like freedom is one word I think about, but also surrender.
Yeah.
Um,
I was going to ask you, what is one word? Yeah, how would you describe it?
Yeah, I think the surrender part is it wasn't comfortable for me to make this choice to leave, but the discomfort was I didn't want to disappoint people. And I didn't want people to feel abandoned. And that happens a lot as ministers when we leave a community. There's a lot of angst and feeling about it because we're kind of like a pseudo parent to a lot of people. And so when we say we're leaving, they feel abandoned, and there's a host of things that happen. So, and oftentimes when ministers leave, they give about a 30-day notice, typically, and then they're out of there. Um, I gave a 6-month notice and
Mm,
said, what if we do this together? And that was a bit different for me. So I got to sit and hear how people felt, and they asked me how I felt. And we've kind of walked through this in a really intentional way. And it's affected a lot of parts of my life because I've kind of surrendered into sort of this urge and pull of something bigger than me. And what it's done is given me the freedom to not attach myself to any one feeling.
Mm.
knowing that feelings are real, but they're not true. And so I really get a chance to go, oh, I'm feeling this. It, that's just part of my journey. And that doesn't mean it's a general reality. It's just mine. And so what is really happening for me? And is this old stuff? And on the good side, is this old stuff? And what is it I'm getting out of this? So I think I'm just finding myself in a place of great curiosity
Mhm.
and allowing the path to pull me. That's the surrender part. And the freedom is just not attaching myself to any particular feeling I'm having, knowing it's just in the moment. And I've been working with a coach around that and a therapist around that because I too have RTSD, and I never know how that past affects how I see today unless I question it, look at it, get curious about it.
You know what? I love
Yeah.
what you're sharing. And because and so that people understand what I think is so interesting about me and you, where we're parallel is because we had such strong religious backgrounds. Now, I don't know about you, my religious background was the right one, right? Not yours.
I don't think your movement like the movement I came from at all.
We both were
So
cults to each other. So yeah,
yeah,
Southern Baptist
yeah,
over here was the movement that I was dropped into, and yours was
yeah.
Mormonism. And that's what I loved when I met you, because I was so fearful of Mormons. I just thought, oh my God, you know, because that's what we were taught, to fear it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
To fear what you
And
didn't know, and to stay in this tight little sect, because everything outside of it doesn't is wrong. And
yeah, and the things that we poke at other religions have to do with the things we should be afraid of rather than whether they're really something to be afraid of.
yep,
I
yep.
think in my own journey in looking across the line, I think everyone's just trying to make sense of the world
Hmm.
and and make sense of what they're afraid of. And in my own case, um, I ended up leaving a faith because the box I was in, I kind of broke out of it and didn't realize it.
Mm.
And when you do that, that's because you're kind of leaning into some authenticity for yourself. And there's that voice in you that says, something's not right here. Something doesn't fit here.
Mhm.
So,
And you usually know it way, way, way down, and you just kind of stay in this, oh, but I can't think that thought. But know it, don't you? Way down
yeah,
that something's off. Yeah.
I think originally I thought something was wrong with me
Hmm. Hmm.
because I wasn't able to navigate it without that voice saying something's wrong. So I interpreted it as something wrong is me.
Mm.
But the interesting part is stepping away from the faith for a little while, which is what I did. I said, let me just step away and see what's really going on. And when I stepped away, I realized that it wasn't about me being wrong.
Yeah.
And when I say me being wrong, it's me as a person is wrong. And so being able to do that gave me the freedom to explore really and to sit with it rather than being counseled, advised, um, that it was me not being good enough, me not following it well enough.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
same thing happens today, in my own faith tradition. There's a tendency, no matter what spiritual tradition you're in, you got to do it right or it doesn't work. And to me, what happens is it's not about doing something right, it's about listening and doing what's right for me.
Yeah.
And then it works,
Yeah.
whatever it is. And there's no one thing. There's no one pill, one big solution, one spiritual tradition that can do it all.
That's what I love what you're sharing with by doing this 6 months process, of your transition. It's not stepping away, the transition, right? Into your next step, and allowing space for 6 months to do that versus the 30 days out of here. Sometimes, a lot of times, if we can hurry up and get gone, we can check it off, push it aside, and we go and we think, okay, whew, it's all behind me. I can now go build new again. And when you don't do the journey, do the work. And I don't mean that in a grueling way. It's the being and the processing and the grieving, right? There's
Exactly.
all types of emotions that are going to be happening. And I love that you're sharing. It's about not being attached to the feeling. But one of the things that I have come to learn is my feelings and my emotions, Bobbi, that they're my messenger. And if I
Yeah.
skip right past them, it's like you're passing your message that's going, hello, you
Yeah.
know?
You got to sit in those feelings and because you won't know where you're really at. You won't really know what's going on in you, right? And so if I have a feeling of frustration, then can I sit in that feeling and go, well, what is this?
Yeah.
Is it really frustrated at that or whatever that is that I think I'm frustrated? Most of the time, it's just fear of something.
Yep. Yep. Oh, that's what I love about you so much. You and I could just look, it's love or fear. That's it. That's the two emotions, right? Inside of love and fear is everything. And if we can look at it as the continuum, and a lot of times I think, Bobbi, what people do is they go, this is love and this is fear. So if you're love, I'm high up here, but if I'm fear, I'm down here. But if you see it as a flow or a continuum, then it's where am I at the moment and then where do I want to be? And it's not about jumping from one end to the other. I don't even believe that's humanly possible. It's flowing to the next,
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
being in the flow.
Yeah, I think we tend to, anytime something is uncomfortable, we just want to move through it, which is around it usually. But if I allow myself just to be in it for a moment, I'll find, a lot more gifts in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I will always have to come back to it if I don't deal with it. So, I don't want to come back here.
Exactly. It's a friend of mine was saying, she goes, it's like it's the spiral staircase. If you fly, you're coming back around. It's like, but do you want to go up or do you want it to click and send you on up the spiral staircase, right? Or stay on this going around and
Yeah.
around. Yeah.
And I think it's also knowing that I don't heal anything once and for all. I just keep healing things at a different level. I keep revealing more and more of,
Yes.
the conditioning that I've had. Um, and I think too at this age, sometimes what comes out for me from religious trauma, since we kind of talked a little bit about that, is that sometimes I do still get angry at um, whether it's dealing with family members who are still in it. And I think probably the one thing I'm dealing is if there's judgment against a group of people because they're different,
Mm.
and that it's still that it's so inbred in the organization, it's not conscious. So I get to deal with that, but still in that anger that I have with maybe family members who uh, still subscribe to that belief system, is understanding they're still where they're at. They're still in that they're and can I meet them there without compromising my own values
Yeah.
and just be curious as to what's behind that belief system.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's very fair. And it's interesting you say that because I would say that is probably from the religious trauma side of it and in
Yeah,
navigating through, and you just naturally want people to see and understand and accept it when in real reality that they believe in that faith as much as for me as I no longer believe that that is it, and they can't tell me otherwise and vice versa. Does that make sense?
absolutely. And I think there's a what's very similar about the faith traditions we came from is questioning is kind of sinful because you're questioning the work of God.
Mhm.
And and the interesting thing is the work of God can stand up to questioning.
Yeah. Oh,
And the
that's
work of
powerful.
God that can't stand up to questioning isn't really anything but sort of created by us.
Yeah.
And I leave it at that because I don't know the answer to all that. Like I can't tell you. I mean, the work of God to me is like I look out right now and see all these pine trees, or I see, I'm living in the southern Puget Sound and I look around and that's the work of God. I look in the mirror, that's the work of God. And so those things that I see that that's all I know. When it comes to doctrine or philosophy, yeah, it's all speculation.
Yep.
People
Yep.
just trying to figure it out.
Mhm. Yeah. And I don't know if you went through this because I'm not sure fully where like the actual religious side switches from a learning standpoint, but I know in our world it was, the Jesus and trying to separate from the belief of him as a person. All of that just played such big stuff for me in my brain because everything you're taught comes into question now. And so you have to think, I had to go back and then look at history, even through
Yeah,
multiple religions, very
yeah.
different, and actually become a student versus just someone that just believed whatever they were told. But I wanted to go on that journey. But I will tell you this, when I got to the segment where, and it took years before I would even look at anything related to I could go to Buddhist really quick. I could go to any of the other religions very, very quick because it felt safe, because I was curious. But when it came time to going, all right, now I want to look at this figure, Jesus, who was he? How did all of this get attached to him? Yeah, and I just wanted to learn. I will tell you, I'd be hanging out at Waffle House with Jesus on Sundays, as far as I'm concerned. And anybody else who wants to sit at the table, does that make sense? I mean, it was like, I could just exhale coming out of that instead of seeing such this lording factor that had just this cane that would beat me if I did something bad. Um, so to get
Which
past
was
that
created,
was so.
yeah, which was created by man in that respect, men in that sense, because the
And
words
men.
of Jesus,
It's interesting you said that, men.
yeah,
Like, yeah,
the
yeah.
words of Jesus are all about love and
Mhm.
uh, about
Compassion.
holding up the marginalized and recognizing in his day that the religious leaders of his time were just political.
Yeah.
And if we look at the words of Jesus, it was almost as if he and a few others, like I would say the Buddha, a few others, and women have been left out of history. So other than Mary Magdalene, right,
Hmm.
who was, turned into a prostitute because that's what, religion did to women. Um, when we look at those folks and what their key message is, not what we think they would say, not what someone said they said, but what they actually said. And we look at that, it's usually a message of love,
Yeah. Yeah.
purely.
Yeah.
And anything outside of that, because remember, even Jesus, it's love God, love your neighbor, love yourself. But if you can't love your enemy,
Mm.
then you really can't love.
Yeah. 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 And you know what was key factor of that was someone gave me a book, and it had to be separated as a book so it could go into study form for me. And the book was just the words of Jesus. And they said, read it cover to cover and nothing else. And when I could get all the other stuff out of the way, it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
It was such a perceptual change for me. Yeah, I think he kind of cool little new age guy. Not little.
Totally.
So anyway, it has been a journey, and I will say that I am grateful that you were very much a part of that, part of the healing. And for those of y'all that don't know, Bobbi interviewed me, and I would say I publicly sang on a stage at a level that I had not done for many, 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 many years at your graciousness and being there and being able to come to your community and do that. And so very pivotal. That's what, about a little over a year ago now, I guess June a year ago. But
Life changing
anyway,
for all of us.
it was life changing and then on many factors. And again, which brings us to the expansion factor and why we're here today. So I appreciate it. I am honored that you've spent some time with me today. I have one
Absolutely.
more thing that I want to ask of you. So, for those of you or anybody, I have these Be with Word cards. I do this at the end of every podcast. So, I'm just going to randomly draw a card, and whatever that is, whatever comes to you. It's a word. It's just going to have one word on it. Oh, I'm not worried about this word at all. Not that I'm worried about any word, but I want to know your thoughts, your feelings. What does this word spur and bring up for you? And the word is transparency.
Oh, I love that word. Yeah. I think it comes back to being authentic for me. Um, Transparency. I think I'm gonna go back to the quote that you and I talked about earlier, which is the Ralph Waldo Emerson quote, which is imitation is suicide. And when I am in integrity with myself, I know what to say. And when I'm not, then I tend to be my words lack transparency. That also means, though, that not everything I think should I say. Not everything I think should I say. So, I use this. It's called the three pillars of truth. Is it honest? Is it respectful? And is it necessary? And whatever I say has to match those three. It has to walk through those pillars. And I say that because there have been many times in my life, especially as a minister, I probably learned that the most is both with family and as a leader of a spiritual community. Is there's a lot of times I don't need to say anything, and I can just be, and that is transparent. That when I'm asked how I'm feeling about something, that I can use those three pillars to say, well, what is it that I'm going to be transparent about today? Because remember, I'm meeting people where they're at too, and not everything that I think is something that someone should either hear or even follow. Because remember, it's just my own life. I'm sort of pointing a way, not the way, and just using my own life as an example. And when I do that, when I'm transparent from that place, then I really tend to do very little harm in the world. I think someone said to me the other day that vengeance is a lazy way of dealing with fear. And because that's what I believe I'm doing, is just constantly looking at where I'm at as a leader and where am I leading from? And it's love or fear. And it's really that simple. And again, it comes back to when I do that, then I know that I'm transparent in what I need, where I need to be. And it becomes very simple.
I love that.
So,
I love that. Well, you just put the bow on the box of a saying that I always say is we are all leaders.
mhm.
What are we leading? And I
Yeah.
love that you say that because so many people think a leader is this. No, we're all leaders. It's what are we leading? And once you know what you're leading, you know what you're expanding. And with that, my dear,
Well,
again,
thank you.
why I'm so grateful you're in my life. Thank you for being with us.
You bet.